absolutely everything. I mean, what happened to Saul really does seem unbelievable. I mean, it really does. But in reality, it is the stuff of our everyday lives. I mean, what was your blinding light? What was the moment that things suddenly became clear and you recognized it and you saw it? I know I've joked about it before, but honestly, the best description of it I ever saw in a TV show was in How I Met Your Mother years ago. When all of a sudden someone had a realization and they would have this huge sound of glass shattering in this one episode. And it's like, the glass got broken. Suddenly you can see clearly. Yeah, that idea. When was, what was your blinding light, that moment when everything changed? And you suddenly saw what you were supposed to see. And you understood it. What changed your mind? What caused you to see reality in a whole new way? What got through to you so that the chaos, of all your stubbornness and all your refusal, that what got through all of that? And every single one of us will have a different answer. We all will. What got through that barrier you built? What was the blinding light? I still remember sitting in a Bible study talking about, I wasn't teaching it, I was in it. And the person teaching it, Carl, we were going through Exodus. We were talking about the whole scene with Moses at the burning bush. And I'd never noticed before how angry God gets through that, because he keeps telling Moses, I got that, we'll do this, and here, and it'll be fine, and it'll be fine. And Moses keeps coming up with every single excuse why he can't do this. And then in the end, God gets mad. So God got angry. And I still remember Carl saying, God's going to call you and call you and call you. And one day God's going to get mad at you because you keep putting it aside and turning away. And then you're going to get a call you really don't want to answer. And that stuck with me because I went, oh, is that what that's been? Why everybody keeps telling me I should go to seminary? Why everybody keeps telling me I'd be really good at this? Why everybody, and I keep feeling like I should be doing, is that what this is? Is that what this is? And that was the moment, it's like all of a sudden it just felt like everything clicked into place, and I went, oh, is this what I've been missing all these years? Kind of like when you're at the eye doctor and they finally get the things twisted around the right way and you can look through the lenses and go, oh, that's great, I can actually see the chart now. It's just that moment of absolute clarity. What was yours? These are both actually by Caravaggio. The one on the left is the one he originally painted for someone, and the guy didn't like it, so he redid it and did the one on the right, which then the patron actually paid for. So, but it's this idea of Paul being knocked down completely off his horse, just completely knocked to the ground by this light and by what God has done. Not just blinded, but completely blown over. And it makes sense that Caravaggio would do this because he was always considered, he always played a lot with light and with darkness. That was always a huge feature of his paintings. But to me, these images are just so stark, and I can't imagine being literally blown onto the ground by an interaction with God. Sometimes it's the people around us who finally tell us the truth. Or sometimes it's the emptiness in our spirit that finally convicts us that something needs to change. And we always ask, where was God in all this? Is God really in the business of changing lives? Is God really that involved with all of us? And of course, God is. But the problem is that usually we can only see it from the past. It's rare to have that moment of pure clarity. Usually it's long afterwards, and we can relate to taking the wrong path and having to turn around and finally discovering where it is we're supposed to go. But having that moment where you can go, I understand now. That's what Saul's having. That's what's happening to him. Is for one moment, even though he can't see with his eyes, he can see clearly what's going on. The commissions happen all the time. They need to happen all the time. People need to be sent out, sent to do things. But the problem is, we're all stubborn. I'll raise both hands. And we remain caught up in our own thoughts, our own ideas, our own behaviors of what we think we should be. We're still blind. We still need the light. Every single one of us is walking the Damascus Road, breathing threats and destruction, just like Saul. And Saul was changed. But even for Saul, it took time. It wasn't instantaneous. He didn't figure it all out in one swift moment. In that moment, he gets his first piece of information that this is Jesus who's doing this, and that he now can't see. He has no idea where he is or where he's going or what's happening. And all he knows is he's supposed to go into Damascus now. It took Ananias to bring the rest of the message. It took a community to come around Saul and show him what comes next. It was never something that happened just to him, just on his own. And these are both images of Ananias baptizing Saul. And I love, because a lot of the pictures, the traditional pictures of Paul show him as very bald. And so the one on the right is, but it's funny, it took me a minute with the one on the left, because I'm like, oh, he has hair. Okay, that's new. Usually Paul's not depicted that way. He's usually depicted with the beard and with a very, very open top, shall we say. But these are both images of Ananias, who is almost always shown as an old man, by the way. Always. Not sure why. Always shown as an old man who's come to baptize Saul. He's part of this community that then begins to come together to take care of Saul, to help him, to show him, to teach him, so that he can in turn then go out and proclaim that Jesus is Lord. He didn't have every single skill he needed the second this happened with Jesus. It still took time. He stayed in Damascus and in a couple other places quite a while, learning and figuring out what all of this means. We are changed when we're approached by God and by God's representatives, like Ananias. And we come to the other side of that encounter. That kind of change that happened in Saul was something that Christ did. It's not something we can do. It's as much a gift as grace. And it involves a journey. Think about what happens to Saul. He's this independent, go-get-'em kind of guy who's going to chase down all these Jesus followers and take care of them, not in a good way. And yet he's suddenly forced into this childlike dependence because he can't see. They have to escort him and help walk him everywhere. The one who knows much has to become the one who knows nothing. Paul was a teacher. He understood the law inside and out, and he now suddenly has to go back to square one and start all over again. The one who leads has to be led by the hand and healed and instructed by the very people he despised. The very people he was seeking to kill. They are the ones who are about to take care of him and show him the new way. The power of God has transformed an enemy into a brother. And not just for Saul, but also for Ananias. Because here's Ananias having to go in there to the person he knows is sent here to kill him and say, no, it's okay. I'm here because God has sent me to you. But look at the fight Ananias has with God. Like, wait a minute, I'm not going to see him. This is crazy. He's trying to kill me. And God says, no, I have a job for him. And you're the one who's going to give him the commission. So we too have to be ready to be surprised, because God's transformation isn't just us, it's also our enemies. Watching them be transformed into our brothers and sisters. We don't get to choose who the recipient is of that encounter with God. That encounter that changes everything. We don't get to pick who gets that. Only God does. And Acts, with all these conversions and commissions, and there's a whole string of them here in the middle of Acts. There's the centurion, and there's a whole, but there's the Ethiopian eunuch, and there's a whole bunch of them. And this is one of them. And it's a reminder that it's also not a one-size-fits-all. The only constant is that every single one of them is the result of an encounter with God. That's the only thing that really strings them together. Because they're all very different people, very different places, tasked with very different things. But what links them all is this encounter that they had with God. And I think that's the kind of question we have to keep asking ourselves, is where is God at work right now